Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to those of you around the world. Welcome to Trading Rebellion with your favorite analyst from Trade the Chain. My name is Nick Mancini, Director of Research at Trade the Chain, joined by my fellow senior research analysts, Monte and CJ. And
Did you
as you
just
can
say that
see,
you were the favorite?
no, you're
I'm just
we
asking.
we we are everyone else's favorites, not just me, not just me. I'm not beautiful enough to usurp you guys. So, um, but as you can see, we're all smiling, cracking jokes. CJ may be sipping whiskey in there. Who knows? Today is a very good day in the markets as Ripple. I wouldn't call it a flat out win against the SEC, but probably got the best ruling that any XRP holder or crypto trader in general could ask for. So let's go ahead and bring up exactly what is under discussion today. So and just bear with us as well. This is brand new news. So if we do make any mistakes or miscategorize anything, please feel free to say something in chat, hit us up in the community, tag us on Twitter. This is going to be an open discussion, open to interpretation over, I would definitely say, the next few days, possibly the next few weeks. So I've got Adam Cochran's tweets up here, and no matter what you feel about him, he does occasionally drop some good information in relation to macro news. And so most of this Ripple case seems to be very good. Reading this, therefore, having considered the economic reality and totality of circumstances surrounding the institutional sales, the court concludes that Ripple's institutional sales constituted the unregistered offer and sale of investment contracts in violation Section 5. Now, that's the bad news because that was related to the institutional sales. Now, the good news is that, and I forget, so this is the kind of the key language here, and this is as it pertains to the public, basically to retail. Understanding the totality of the circumstances, the court concludes that Ripple's programmatic sales of XRP did not constitute the offer and sale of investment contracts. So Adam continues to go on and basically say that at the end of the day, if you do not do private rounds, if you don't do a traditional ICO, if you sell the assets via exchanges and distribute the protocol natively, then everything will be good. I won't name the fourth line in here. I think we all kind of have a feeling towards that, but no need to get into that on the show. So basically, at the end of the day, and bring in CJ and Monte back in, this is basically really good news for the future of crypto. If you're selling to retail through non-institutionalized means, then it's not a security. And that's basically most of cryptocurrencies. We can get into kind of the OTC, we can get into the private sales, which obviously don't seem like they will be around much longer. But this opens up a very broad swath of litigation moving forward in favor of most cryptocurrencies. Monte, CJ, either one of you, feel free to hop in, agree, disagree, have differing thoughts. What are you thinking?
I mean, if yeah, you're on mute, by the way, CJ. But if XRP isn't a security, then what is? I mean, it fit the bill of a security more than anything else in the crypto space, in my mind. I mean, it's essentially just a settlement token, and they've, basically diluted the value of their token by selling it, tremendously on the market. So, yeah, obviously, we're seeing some very positive price action. And to be quite frank with you, I could give a rat's ass about Ripple or what it does. Great, it's up 40%. If you hit that, good for you. But I think that this is finally the catalyst that we have needed for price action to take off. So as a Bitcoin and ETH holder, I see this news as tremendously bullish. I think that it sets the precedent going forward for all of the other cryptocurrencies. And, like I said, in the spectrum of cryptocurrencies, I would say XRP, in terms of passing the Howey test, would be like the closest of failing. That would be like the CJ Reichel of the class, the kid who's barely getting by, getting Fs on the test, but going to the after school hours and getting some extra credit to get by.
Poor CJ, man. He's caught 2 strays already, and the show just started.
Oh yeah, just sip your whiskey.
Be happy for the XRP and XLM holders. They've been through more pain than any group.
That
and
is
they're
true.
pumping our bags.
That they have. And look at the XRP chart. So let's do some quick charting on this, because before we talk about Bitcoin and ETH, which I know everyone's excited about, I'm sure some people watching are XRP holders or traders today. And so one thing I want to note about this chart is, we're looking at the Binance chart, but you do keep in mind that US exchanges and a lot of EU exchanges as well had to delist XRP. And so with this ruling, there could be a relisting in the future. Now, of course, the ruling is there's still more litigation that can occur after this ruling. Let's not, act like it's clear skies and sunny days. But this does open up the process to XRP being available to more citizens than it currently is. I'm sure a lot of people are buying on DEXs. I think Uphold was, I think it went down because of how many registrations and users were on it. It's like the only exchange that offers XRP. So just kind of from an extrapolated perspective, I do not think that this resistance level, and this is the resistance level, it was the high of 20. So, that's kind of a critical level in history there. I don't think that, while it may offer some resistance in the short term, I have a feeling this would likely be broken provided Ripple, drops a little bit news. We're continuing litigation. We're working with exchanges to get XRP listed back on exchanges. More good news in that circle, I think, would definitely, force us higher. And so where I would draw my next resistance levels are just, basically the recent highs that we traded around throughout 21 and 22. So, of course, a lot of people are going to be drawing magnets all the way up to this all-time high. But I mean, look at, we're up 60% on the day. I think XRP is the highest on my list, 66% as we're talking. It's going up as we're talking. So it may break this resistance level before the end of the show. And we're sitting on the 3-day chart right here. So I'm not saying buy XRP, but I'm certainly suggesting not to short it with any money that you value personally. So Monte, CJ, what are you guys thinking about the XRP price chart? I know you guys are careful, as I am, about making predictions when coins are up 67%, but we're sitting at where you would expect the first resistance level to be, and we're trying to work our way through it. So what are you guys expecting? Are you possible buyers? Are you holding longs? What are you guys thinking?
I mean, the resistance is pretty much irrelevant in my mind because it's just there are new conditions now that kind of usurp what was previously forming as resistance. Do we have what's the funding rates on this right now? Because if the funding is still like very negative and there aren't as many longs as we think, then this certainly could go higher. But
there you go. There's your headline, CJ.
Sometimes it is.
Resistance is irrelevant.
Support is nothing, right? Happens both ways.
The funding rate is only slightly negative, CJ, coming in at 0.0052%. So slightly negative.
I mean, I think
obviously one more time. Resistance is irrelevant, guys.
We can focus on, resistance levels, but I think, the bigger picture of what happened today. I was talking with Monte before the show. Chapter 1, hedge fund market wizards, Colm O'Shea, 12 years trading for Soros, talks about the moment where knowing when it's raining or feeling a certain feeling. And I'm sure you guys have felt that somewhat similar to when we were going, 15, 16, 17, 20K in 2020 following MicroStrategy and all of that stuff. People were hoping for a pullback during those events and it never let them in. So I try to, wonder to myself, was today one of those turning point days where you know when it's raining? Because the narrative, I see this one comment by Daddio, thank you for that. Is this the news catalyst that shifts BTC dominance from ramping to fading? I think that is a really, really good thing to consider today.
Let's pull up the BTCD chart.
Absolutely. I got it ready here.
You got it? All right, Monty's on it.
Yeah, so this is, something that we look at quite frequently. This is the weekly chart. And, to your point, Daddio, I think this is the start of the falling of Bitcoin dominance. I mean, it's been since the start of the year or since basically the beginning or the end of last year, it's been in a very consistent uptrend. Let's take a more interim look at the daily chart, and you can see just how drastically this is falling here. And looking at this here, look how far this could plausibly fall. So to CJ's point about knowing when it's raining, like this looks like a very dark thundercloud right here. And I think it's about to start pouring rain, and that's evident from these green numbers here. I mean, look at like Uniswap. We talked about this one. Just the other day in last week's episode. And Nick, you'd pointed out the sentiment, but regardless of that, look at how it's up 10%. Does it have anything to do with XRP? No, but this is the positive news that we've been waiting for. What I will say is that, things like Riot and Mara almost were precursors for this, right? Because look at Riot, look at Coinbase, look at Mara. All of these things have been straight up hockey sticking for the last 3 weeks, and Bitcoin has done nothing at all, and the alts have done nothing at all. So what it is like, it got to the point where what was the catalyst going to be that was going to drive us higher? I think we're finally got it, being this lawsuit, and it's crazy that it's coming from XRP. I would have never expected it to have this much of an impact on the market. I thought that it would affect XRP and XLM, and that's about it. But clearly from my watch list here, as you can see, I mean, even the high cap names, ETH is up above 2K on this news. So to your question, Nick, or to the Banner's question, is alt season back? I think most definitely it is back. And
look at the watch list.
Yeah, look at the watch list. Speaks for itself. And a lot of the coins that were like, look at XLM, man, 56%.
Hold on, pull up Bitcoin, because we're approaching 31.5 right now. So I mean, we're on a very condensed stream in terms of running around on charts, but we're facing that critical resistance level, Monty. We could watch it bust through on this stream.
Yeah, we absolutely could. Let's go ahead and take a look at the good old 1 minute chart. And this is something we talked about with the community members in Discord earlier in the week. I'm going to switch back to the daily chart just real quick. This range, like, it wasn't going to last forever. The Bollinger Bands were pinching so tight that we knew there was going to be a move to one side or the other. And the reason why I was biased to the bullish side was because of the price action that we were seeing in the crypto-related equities like Coinbase, like Riot, and like Mara. Those things had been performing tremendously well, and Bitcoin hadn't been doing anything. So when I saw that lack of volatility and that pinching of the Bollinger Bands, which is typically indicative of a big move coming, I was anticipating that move being to the upside. And now we are seeing that. We're approaching that critical 31.5 level, like you mentioned, and I think we smash right through it and continue grinding higher. What excites me most is that we have the Asian session coming up tonight, and we've seen in the past them really play a significant role in bidding up the altcoins. And the Kospi big gap up, has 3 days in a row of positive price action. That's a bit of a scary looking candle, but I think Asia sees this price action. They wake up, they see this, and they start pressing the green button and send these altcoins even higher. So one thing that is I don't want anyone to get caught up in is worrying that they've already missed the move, because I don't think you have. Like CJ said, you got to know when it's raining, and right now it's pouring. So take some shots that you wouldn't ordinarily take. That's what I'm doing, and they're paying off. So, whether it be, pick your asset on this watch list, pick, an asset that looks sound technically, or, one that looks like it could, feasibly play a game of catch up, because I think everything is going to be green. And heading into the Asian session, I want to have as much long exposure to the alts.
You good, Monte?
Could I
Sorry.
ask you guys a question? Can we understand what the Pepe market cap is relative to SHIB? I think Pepe's only around
me pull
600
up,
to 700 million. SHIB's like still 4 billion. I'm
Let me
thinking.
I'm pulling up the chart right now. So we want. Oh, it's already in my recently searched. Haha, very funny. Pepe market cap is 665 million. I want to say SHIB is in the billions.
Oh
it's
yeah,
like
it's
Yeah, 4.65 billion. So let's do, what was that?
So what
650?
% increase of gains do you get if Pepe goes to SHIB status market style?
650 divided by 4,650. So Pepe is about 14% of SHIB's market cap as it stands right now.
Yeah, so like 5 to 7x would be, roughly speaking, equal in market cap to SHIB. That's really not that. Like if you have a really Aptos like run or like mania run fueled by, yep, there you go. Resistance
This is crazy. XRP
irrelevant.
is still up since we talked. XRP is up 76% on the day.
resistance means nothing.
Wow.
Guess CJ was right.
XLM 60%. Resistance is irrelevant. So a couple of coins. I'm just going to throw out one or two coins that I'm looking at because CJ did put out very good advice, or maybe perhaps it was Monte. I apologize if I'm mixing what you guys set up, but about finding coins that look, ripe or that are in the right position or potentially haven't pumped enough or are, just faced a recent sell-off after a pump. And one that I'm watching that has obviously the might of one of crypto's most powerful individuals behind it is BNB. And if you guys are in the TTC community, you'll notice that I put in LTC just a couple of days ago, looking very similar to BNB right now in terms of just creeping under resistance. And I can't do the alphabet today, so I'm trying to find LTC. But as you'll see here with LTC, and I'm on the 3-day, so I'll move it back. But, very kind of similar price action here. Coiling under resistance, a break of this level is an automatic long in my book. And that's what I told the TTC community. And that break resulted in a 6% move. So one thing I'm looking at, and although, not identical charts by any means, but after facing a downturn has been coiling under the resistance, 3 separate taps. It's now breaking above resistance. So what I'm looking for ideally is, I actually did place a long here at the snap back at 253. I closed a little bit up here because I got a little bit scared of this candle, but I still think that this looks like a good long, possibly, and I'll move up to the 4-hour to normalize a little bit. Definitely think it's plausible that we'll see 268 in the near future, especially if you're thinking about Asia waking up. This is Asia's largest exchange token. So if Coinbase had a token that wasn't, just their stock on the market, I'd probably be buying a crap ton of coin right now based on this XRP lawsuit. So I have a feeling that people may positively react, especially in Asia, to this news tomorrow. And it doesn't seem like it's up a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. If it bounces back on 253, it's definitely I'm adding to longs right there. So, but speaking of that, Monte, CJ, any coins that are on your watch list that potentially have not performed as well, or you expect to continue to perform? I know LDO's on your list, CJ, and I was trading that this morning, and that's had a fantastic morning so far. But anything else catching your guys' eye?
Yeah, I mean, just Lido, Pepe.
Feel free to throw up some
Run.
charts too.
Obvious, and yeah, I mean, I don't even think we really need charts for this discussion. It's more about like relative strength and what's been kind of the strongest. And yeah,
Holy
I mean,
moly,
Lido.
Pepe. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I mean, this is just, it's getting kooky right now.
Anyways,
15% on the day.
Yeah, so like you want to look for, I think, the things that have a lot of reflexivity and could like meme themselves into popularity. And when you see, if you have an idea and you see that idea like really coming to fruition, it's like those chain reactions. So I would definitely be on the lookout for things like that. Also, a lot of the assets that were heavily shorted will probably continue to do very well. That's mainly why Coin, I think, has been doing really well. It's just had like the most short interests of not all of the crypto equities, but it was in the top 100 of most shorted assets. And, now we're above 100 and a lot of the equities are doing well. So I think, you got to just concentrate on what's, presenting really good relative strength. I see a comment here, looking at perhaps shorting the inevitable fall back down to earth. I would ban the red button from your minds temporarily, or at least that's what I would try to do, because if this is an expansion, or if we are entering an expansionary phase into the super cycle, then the greatest risk isn't necessarily losing the profits that you've made, the last month being long. The greatest risk is not having enough exposure to the space that you log into every single day on Twitter to talk about and learn more about, and that all of the Zoomers are coming to buy and basically embrace this asset class throughout the next 5 to 10 to 20 years, as there's just this massive transfer of wealth from the baby boomer generation to the younger generation. That could certainly manifest itself in 2024 or 2025. But anyways.
I mean,
Let's,
CJ, you mentioned.
Oh, go ahead, CJ. Or I mean, Monty.
Yeah, I mean, CJ's talking about the Zoomer money coming in, but I mean, how about the Boomer money kind of, leading the charge? Like, you had been talking about this, relentlessly, CJ. I believe you made a deal that if it goes to 300, you're shaving your head. We're holding you to that.
Oh, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
How far off? What percentage are we? That's 200% now.
I mean, it's looking a lot day by day. It's looking a lot more likely, but
I will say, hand up, I was wrong about Coin. I caught the wrong signal, and typically a good signal when the CEO is selling millions of stock, usually a local top, as evidenced by the data we provided. But I must raise my hand and say I was wrong in the TTC community, and Coin has continued to outperform. I'm just glad I did not suggest anyone short it. So I just had to admit that to the public.
You're a big man, Nick. But yeah, taking a look at Coinbase, I mean, just look at how well this thing has performed, even relative to other, high beta altcoins. It's outperforming them all. And, it does have earnings coming up at the beginning of August 8th. I think I give this thing a green light until earnings. Even if you didn't have any exposure right now, I think that it's okay to buy at these levels. Like, this here is a breakout level for Coinbase. And if we can get above 106, I think this thing runs straight into earnings, and we could plausibly see it reach 140, before August 5th. And that's, less than 3 weeks away. So, still incredibly bullish on this. And, on the note of earnings, let me quickly transition to some other big tech names, because although they're not, going as crazy as Bitcoin is right now, some names look really good. And one in particular to me that looks very nice is Google. And I believe there was a question in the Discord about Google. But, this looks like a big cup and handle forming here to me. It seems like it's the laggard amongst the Magnificent Seven, as we've been calling them. And I think that, Google, with their, I don't know if you guys heard, they have this new note-taking AI service where essentially you can use your phone to record meeting notes, and it can transcribe them, edit them, summarize them, blah, blah, blah. And they also added multiple languages to their AI program. So pumping on that news, but also note earnings coming up on the 25th. Again, this is another one. I give it a green light until earnings. I'm going to be writing a lot of these tech names and also crypto assets and even the miners, because if I think Bitcoin is going to break out, then the miners will too. And, all of them have earnings coming up in sometime, in August. And until then, I think they keep pumping. Of course, we may see a few days where they pull back like this, but don't panic. I think as long as you have exposure to these, and there's many ways you can do it, um, just up until this earnings date, I think these things continue to run. So I am like going back to that analogy, you got to know when it's raining, and right now it's pouring, and I am dancing in the rain.
Can I add something to this?
Oh, go ahead, CJ.
I'm thinking about the meme of like Soros when he's at the World Economic Forum or something, and he says, in his Hungarian accent, "When I see a bubble forming, I rush in to buy, fueling the fire. That is not irrational." Same type of thing in the current circumstances. What I think about when I saw Nvidia go, especially after their last earnings, and they were up like 25-30% the following day. That was because there was a lot of short interest. A lot of people doubted the stock, thought it was bullshit, wanted to short it. Similar things happening with Coinbase. So, I mean, we'll see. But I like the fact that a lot of people are short, and Wall Street is kind of front running Main Street here in terms of the crypto equities. Anyways,
yeah, I mean, as Hasaka likes to say, and he's definitely, I would say, one of the more prolific crypto trader personalities. But he was mentioning that oh my, and I'm going to completely forget what he said, but it was basically like the XRP ruling was in the charts weeks ago. And I think what he was trying to say is, Coin was pumping, Riot's pumping, Hut's pumping, Wolf's pumping, everything that institutional investors can get their hands on was rising, except for the tokens themselves. And I think this ruling kind of opens up the door for a little bit more risk on in terms of trying to take on, and when you think about risk on, we talked about this earlier in the week, people are scared to put millions and millions in crypto, but now that this ruling happens, now they're going to start inching into it because it's worth, maybe 25% of that initial allocation, buying some now, holding that, and then hoping to get on an ETF or something else later on, certainly is something that I would say, high net worth individuals are very much, looking at right now. So important to consider, the context of everything and how money moves in the different buckets. So we are seeing a bit of a rejection here at the 31.5 level, inching back down to 31. Since it's basically a news day and we're just getting tons of volatility, let's just kind of talk about price. And we should mention Alex Mashinsky was arrested today. I know that's in our headline, but it's almost the least significant piece of news today because it doesn't really affect price action. And I think we were all, kind of hoping, fingers crossed, that, some prosecution would come his way eventually. So
maybe that's the real reason.
And, Cell token is the only token that I think is underperforming today. Oh, it's still up, surprisingly. But, when you look at everything else, not as close. So.
The CEO gets arrested and price still pumps. Only in crypto.
Only in crypto.
I'm sure FTT was running earlier in the week.
Yeah, and FTT will run. FTT does run around. Do I not even have it on here? Huh. FTT and Sol always run around any interesting news related to FTX 2.0 or anything like that. So.
Yeah.
FTT is down today, CJ, surprisingly.
Yeah, you'd be hard pressed to find an asset that's down today.
That looks very limp.
It does.
Very limp.
Robin has a question in the chat. He says, asset firm Jacoby to launch Europe's first Bitcoin ETF.
Oh, I did see that. Did that get approved? Was it fully approved?
I cannot.
I want to say I think I retweeted it, but it's a good question. Yeah, Europe to launch first spot Bitcoin ETF this month. So I would say, it's definitely a positive, but and I've had this conversation with many of my European counterpart traders and investors, and it's no disrespect to Europe in general. It's just, the US is really the financial hub. And even though the UK and the EU can make all the crypto rules they want, I don't think anyone's really picking up and packing up to go to the UK to move their entire business, family, and company. Maybe the Asia, much better cost of living, and a little bit, easier to work with the government in terms of that. I don't think anyone's, any Western governments are not easy to approach in terms of regulation or general adoption. So I do see this as a net positive, but I always preface that it's important to be careful of getting overly bullish about Europe focused news, because if Europe was going to make a difference, then the UK and the EU crypto regulation would have had a much bigger impact than it did. And clearly US based crypto legalese is ripping tokens 50%. So, that's just kind of showing you where the focus is in terms of regulation and general, adoption. So that's just kind of my thoughts. But CJ, Monte, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, Jacoby ain't shit compared to BlackRock, if we're being honest. So, BlackRock, that news, it moved the pulse of the markets in the sense that we saw the traditional equity side of crypto move, with stocks like Mara, Riot, Coinbase pumping as people tried to, I think institutions and, large players try to get exposure to the inevitability of that ETF. This, sure, it's good news, but if BlackRock didn't move the price of Bitcoin, then I don't think this will. I think, the big news today is clearly the SEC. Like you said, Nick, no disrespect to Europe, but, what happens here really kind of dictates these markets, even though crypto is a global asset. The SEC clearly has a very important role to play in the price action of pretty much every crypto asset in the space.
Completely agree. So, I wish we had to talk about more. I mean, this XRP news is still very nascent. So of course we're getting we got the big boost. We're obviously coming up against where natural resistance is for Bitcoin. I definitely don't want to see the daily close like this, although above 31K would definitely be very favorable. We could end up in a repeat of July 3rd and 4th. Which is why I don't really want the body to close below the wicks. And just as kind of a quick education session for candlestick trading, and CJ may be laughing at me under his breath because I know he makes fun of me sometimes for this. But if the body of the candle closes above the previous high, especially on a higher time frame like the daily, the 4-hour, the 12-hour, that's typically a very bullish sign. And a lot of people will say, well, it closed above 31 here, but then it automatically got sold back down. And that's because, in my opinion, and a lot of candlestick traders will tell you this, that body didn't close above either of these highs. If it closed above this high, better chance to survive, but it didn't. So what I'd like to see, and it's going to be a tall task, but I'd like to see the body of the daily close below or above 31.5. If it does, then I would definitely say 32.5, potentially 33 are in the cards. And just so you know where I got those numbers from, that coincides with both the low of where we traded in January of 2022, as well as the high of where we traded in May of 2022. So I'm kind of looking at that as a little bit of a demand zone for possible selling. And then if we can get above this 34.5 level, I mean, it's time to put the house, the dog, the wife, your grandma, it's time to put everybody into Bitcoin. So at least in my opinion, not financial advice. So, but that's what I'm looking at. What do you guys think of? I know, CJ kind of made the big headline today that resistance is irrelevant. That one's I'll probably see that one in Bloomberg tomorrow. But what are we thinking when we see a rejection like this? Are you guys still comfortable in longs? Are you guys still comfortable holding, or does this give you a little bit of a pause that we're seeing a rejection off 31 nearly back to 30 or 31.5 back to 31? Just because we've got a couple people in here curious about shorting and maybe reversals. So are you guys, holding strong, and is there anything that would make you scared? I will say this 15-minute candle looks effing beautiful for
Yeah.
for continuation.
Let me just reiterate, for those who may not heard like yesterday or the day before, like out of all of the money I have lost trading, the most of it has come from shorting the cryptocurrency market and shorting the stock market, undoubtedly. The risk to reward in this environment is just so much more favorable to the upside that it is like I was looking at shorting Bitcoin Cash because, you know, obviously it's weak fundamentally. It pumped on, you know, a random narrative that didn't really matter. And in 2022, you would have seen a really good mean reversion of like 20, 30%, but we're just not getting it in this type of market environment. So it's almost like a waste of time to look for the short trades when you're way more likely to probably catch a 20 to 30% move to the upside in one of these alts, which is just way easier to do at this particular point in time, in my opinion. That's all I got to say about that.
I don't disagree with you. I think that's very good analysis. What say you, Monte?
Yeah, I mean, seeing it pull back right now doesn't concern me whatsoever. I think that's perfectly natural. In fact, it gives me a little bit of confidence that the crypto traders aren't as dumb as people make them out to be, and they're actually taking some profit as it hits critical resistance. That is a very reasonable thing to do, especially considering the fact that if you bought just like a month ago, you're massively in profit. And, you know, seeing a move like today, this is a perfect chance to distribute into strength, which is a perfectly valid trading strategy. So, yeah, we're going to see pullbacks throughout the pump. Don't let that scare you because it's just typically going to be profit taking. And one other thing is that when you see this sort of move happen, you'll have people enter that mindset of, oh, it's pulling back, it's reverting. I'm going to make a ton of money by shorting this back to where it went. And then they get squeezed out and just add fuel to the fire, driving price higher. So, yeah, we'll see a few interim pullbacks, but nothing that concerns me whatsoever. And this is just, you know, to me, another instance of profit taking. And I really like the supply absorption I'm seeing from that wick, this current 15-minute candle.
Yeah, I'm liking the volume that I'm seeing too, and just I'm in the West Coast, so 6:30 a.m. is U.S. market open my time. So you know, and just look at the volume different. You know, and typically when the U.S. market opens, we'll see a little bit more volume compared to the evening, when the U.S. markets are closed. But I mean, that's almost 4 or 5x volume in almost an instant after that XRP news dropped. So this is what I want to see continue to sustain this rally above 31.5K. If we start dripping back into volume like this, then maybe I'll take CJ's advice and not short, but maybe close some longs, or think about where I want to add again if I'm well in profit. So just something to keep track of. I would definitely say, is this volume continuing? You know, we don't need to stay at this, you know, these spike levels, but we definitely want to stay probably above these lower levels right here, in my opinion. And then another thing I'll say is that if you listen to me, I'm definitely an RSI trader. I do use it quite often, but probably the best advice ever given to me as using RSI is during the pump, RSI means nothing. You know, CJ, you know, said it about resistance, but when assets are pumping, RSI legitimately means nothing, especially on a lower time frame. And that's why I always, you know, focus on level to level trading, because I know if a 31K break happens, it's going to trade up to 31.5, and if 31.5 breaks, then it's going to trade up to 32.5. So I can get my general movements based on my entries. But if I'm staring at this right now here, this is going to make me scared and make me think that I need to be shorting the high heavens because of multiple RSI taps. So always, you know, take a step back and think about, whatever indicators or tools you're using, and because some of them can just kind of get thrown out of the window during different market conditions. So that's just one thing I'm going to suggest, just because I do have my RSI up a lot, and I don't want people to get too confused. So
I believe a
Go
very
ahead, Monte.
very wise man that's just above me, CJ, once said, I don't think there's a single indicator that's lost people more money than the RSI. And I would agree with that, because it leads to early profit taking. And in fact, there's actually a trading strategy called the RSI is wrong, in which when it breaks above 70, you buy. So, you know, this is one of those times where I don't think the relative strength is that important to look at because, we're seeing this just across the board risk on price action. And I think the RSI can go well above 70 and stay above 70 for quite some time.
Also, what do we think
and I
about the
wanna-
resemblance? Oh, go ahead, CJ. Sorry.
Yeah, so that study Monte was mentioning about Trader Magazine, I think in like 2003 or 2004, did a study where they actually like back tested the 20 or like 30 years of quantitative data and what you would have returned if you would have followed that RSI as wrong strategy, short when it goes below 20, long when it goes over 70. And the returns were much better than, the intuitive perspective of what you first think when you see something that's overbought. You imply, oh, well, I should sell it then. And that's why I am very like skeptical of like certain technical systems, is that there's just no like empirical like veracity to back any of this stuff. It's very like much more of an art. So at the end of the day, you just got to figure out what works for you and pound it. So anyways.
Hey, figure out what works for you and pound it. I think that's all a life lesson that we can take home. So we do have another question. Any news on the Voyager ACH USD deposits? I'm not sure what news you would be referring to. As far as I understood, people have been able to withdraw for a couple of weeks now. I've seen a lot of tweets. I believe Alex was able. Actually, I can't confirm that. I have not actually asked him directly whether or not he officially got his money off or not. So don't quote me on that. But I have seen a lot of chatter on the interwebs about people withdrawing their money. DJ Crypto is probably one of the most active Voyager, guys out there still. Not that he's a part of Voyager, but still talking about it. So, and I know he got all his money off, and I know several other TTC members did, as I saw from DMs and tweets and stuff. So, Robert, I believe you can open up your app right now and withdraw. If there are issues, I believe you need to contact Voyager support, and there should be some emails, hopefully that you could reach. But unfortunately, that's completely out of our hands.
If I can just, there's an email, I believe yesterday or the day before, from Voyager, and it says, to receive your initial crypto recovery in kind, you must transfer crypto from your Voyager account to a designated wallet address. So yeah, it seems like if you have crypto, or if you had crypto in there, you're probably getting like however many cents on the dollar, and then you can transfer that to an external wallet to get it out. But I haven't heard anything as far as like ACH transfers or getting USD. But evidently you can transfer crypto out. So best of luck with that.
Yep. One thing I wanted to bring up, just, back to Bitcoin and all that fun stuff, is this current formation does look a little bit similar to what happened over here. And especially when we're talking about the tail end,
it's a massive,
it hasn't broken the highs, but definitely looking a little similar here.
Yeah, I actually, that was a point I raised in terms of like lack of volatility, Bollinger Band pincing. I think it was on Monday's episode.
Could you say that again? The classic pincer movement?
Yeah, it's the classic pincer movement. Who invented that? Hannibal? I don't know, some general. But
can you explain that first so we have some context? Is that when you
go
behind
you
and
see the
flank
Bollinger
them?
Bands like contracting on price like this? So it's like they're coming around the side of the army. They're like surrounding the army. That's not a technical term. It's just what I call it. But anyways, those two instances looked very, very similar in terms of lack of volatility. And then you had the miners pump, and you had Coinbase pump, and then we saw Bitcoin break to the upside. So yeah, Nick, I agree. I think there are some similarities, but I think that actually this time we may see some more staying power, given the fact that the alts are moving as well. Bitcoin dominance is dropping, but I still think Bitcoin is going to continue to pump, just slightly less than some of these high beta altcoins.
It's a good point. And, it should be mentioned, it's also important to be aware, I think 300 million Bitcoin from Silk Road seizure did move yesterday. So any pump the U.S. government could sell into, and let's just remind people that this candle right here was a U.S. government sale, very large sale at that. We did, of course, continue higher from it, but it definitely hurt many intraday traders right there. So something to be aware of if we do move higher is, I'm not saying, close early or whatever, but, always, keep in mind that it is not up only at every minute of every day. So just want to throw that warning out there for good measure. So I think we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. I wish we had more kind of TA and stuff like that for you. But if you've been listening to our shows and following along with TTC for quite some time, the one thing I suggest is never, ever, ever jumping in full head of steam after a pump. XRP, XLM, they're up 50, 60, 70%. I think Bitcoin and Ethereum certainly do have a chance to hit higher, but I don't recommend just diving in. Always be patient, always practice good risk management. Just because you're going to go ahead and throw a 10x leverage long just because everything's going up doesn't mean you shouldn't have a stop loss or understand where you need to cut in case things go sour for you, because we're seeing a lot of volatility on the charts right now. And anyone who longed Pepe at 17,500 certainly is probably stopped out right now at 16,500, so just be careful, don't overextend yourself. But in my opinion, spot buys, probably looking relatively good around this level. So CJ, Monte, any closing words from you guys? A lot of wisdom dropped today, a lot of good insights.
Yeah, and a lot of great questions from the audience and comments from the audience. Really appreciate you guys a lot. Just want to say thank you for all of those great comments and questions. Really appreciate it. It makes the show a lot more fun. And obviously today is a very fun day with all of this big price action happening. So if you want to join us, head over to tradethechain.com. You can try 14 days for free. You get access to the sentiment dashboard, get to see the sentiment for all of the major crypto assets. And more importantly, we have a Discord community where we share insights, we share updates. We're basically in there 24/7, a global community of traders sharing their ideas with each other, not unlike you guys have been in this chat. So really appreciate everyone watching. But CJ, any parting words?
Enjoy the pump. Or do you guys know the video that Ivan on Tech did a while back? The meme that's
respect
going on
the pump.
You must let the pump into your life. Respect the pump. That's some of the unironically best advice I've ever heard on crypto Twitter.
That's CJ. He's sitting on the yacht like what's his face from Succession with the headphones on, just listening to Ivan and Tech saying "respect the pump" over and over and over again. So. But no, this was a great session today. Thank you everybody for listening. As Monte said, please do join us in the Trade the Chain community, because if you listen to us talking for 45 minutes, I'm sure you can imagine the random and planned action that we throw in the TTC community in terms of approaches to trades, news, ideas, counter trades, fading CJ, supporting CJ fading me, Monte fading me. All the fun stuff goes on in TTC. So with that being said, we will see you guys on Monday. We do this every Monday and Thursday, and we do have a special guest joining us next Thursday, July 20th, that we'll be announcing very soon. Big trader who really knows what he's doing, been around for a while, and drops a lot of insights on the interwebs as well. So we will see everybody soon. Have a fantastic weekend. And as CJ mentioned, respect the pump. Peace.